Wait a minute. The next panel. I had to make sure I had the right card. Y'all already know who this is. You know, she'll be holding it down for espnW forever. Two-time, y'all want to guess? Two-time World Cup champion and Olympic gold medalist? Say her initials. Oh, I hear some names. Okay, great. She is the founder of the Julie Foudy Sports Leadership Academy, espnW columnist, and ESPN soccer commentator, Olympic soccer commentator. She's just a beast. The best person to have a conversation about the historic U.S. women's national team CBA and equal pay. Please join me in welcoming Julie Foudy to the stage. No breaking of the souls. Come on, friend. This is cute. You look good. Hi, doll.
Hi. Great job.
Thank you, friend.
Great job. Great job. What's up, party people? How are we? Good morning. So great to be here. I wore my new fleece, and then the sun comes out. I'm like, shit. I could be sweating off like 20 pounds today. Wait till you see Midge's pants. Talk about sweating off 20 pounds. All right, who ran? I ran. I still got my tights on. Yeah, who did the hiking? How was the hiking? Was it good? Where was it? Right here in the hills? You don't know. Anyone do goat yoga? Yeah? Did they shit lavender? No? I'm not supposed to swear, and I've already said shit twice. 3 times. Sorry. Damn. I'm taking over for Spainer. And what else did we do? Oh, did anyone make any candles? It's very high. Okay, good. Love it. Love it. I'm super pumped because we get to talk about equal pay here with a great 2 women. So without further ado, first up we have, and this is a U.S. women's national team player. She also plays professionally for Gotham FC. She went to the fine institution of Harvard University. You must say it like that. Not quite as fine as Stanford, but it's close. She was a 2-time All-American. 2 years after graduating at Harvard, she earned her first career appearance with the U.S. women's national team in 2019, making her the first player from Harvard and the Ivy League to debut for the United States. She was also elected, listen to this, to Harvard's Board of Overseers in 2020, which is one of Harvard's 2 governing boards, which is badass. And she's executive director of the Black Women's Player Collective. All of this while she continues to play professionally and with the U.S. women's national team. Big round of applause for Margaret Midge Purce. I mean, come on, look at these.
Thank you,
Midge.
Julie.
Hi, Midge. Okay, our next guest was a star on the U.S. women's national team as well for 8 years, and that included 2 Olympic gold medals, 1 white gold medal, which we never talk about. Why don't we talk about the white gold? A World Cup title in 1999, 75 goals, which I think is still 8th all time, if I have that right. She won 2 national titles while she was at the University of North Carolina. She then went on, after playing, to become a title-winning coach at literally every level, grassroots, collegiate, and professional levels. And now she is the first female president of the U.S. Soccer Federation, also the first national team player, male or female, to hold that position. And she's only one of 9 female presidents in all of the 211 member associations within FIFA, which is incredible. Former teammate, she's a mom, she's a fabulous human. Put your hands together for Madam President Cindy Parlow-Cone. Hi, Mama.
Hi.
Okay.
Like, am I supposed to?
Oh my, it is gonna get hot. I'm gonna have my personal summer moment.
That hot. I'm a little worried about getting sunburned up here.
Well, I know, it does get hot. Okay, but before we go into the equal pay celebration, I hate to do this to you guys, but as you guys probably all know, literally a month after we have this historic CBA signing, after a U.S. women's national team friendly game in Washington, D.C., the Sally Yates report came out. And so a little bit of context. This is all based on Meg Linehan's incredible reporting in The Athletic, which actually was September of 2021, with allegations of misconduct with NWSL coaches. And from that article, Cindy and U.S. Soccer commissioned former Deputy Attorney General Sally Yates and her team to do an independent investigation into this misconduct. And what came out in the report, which was released on October 3rd, we could use a lot of adjectives. Disturbing is one that comes to mind, very disturbing. So she also, though, came with a lot of recommendations. And I know it's been a month since this report has come out. So Cindy, let's start with you. First, what was your reaction? And then, of course, let's spin it forward to what U.S. Soccer is implementing right away.
Yeah, I think I'll take it back even further than that. For me, when I read Meg Linehan's article, obviously devastating and disheartening and just infuriating. But I was really thankful that I was in a position to do something about it. And the first thing we did is I asked my team, let's hire the best kick-ass investigator that we can and figure out how this happens so that we can make sure that this never happens again. And enter Sally Yates. She's very independent, very respected, but she also takes a really victim-centered approach, which was really important to me to make sure that we didn't cause further trauma to the victims. And I think she nailed it in the report, in the way that she did it, and in the reporting. And I made a commitment in the beginning that I was going to release publicly the report that Sally Yates gave us. And we didn't edit anything, and because I thought it was important for everyone to know what led to this, and then also the recommendations. So we're quickly working at U.S. Soccer to implement all the recommendations. Our board voted unanimously to implement all of them. The ones that we can implement immediately, we have done so. We've put a board committee together and then a larger task force together to do things that go across the landscape, and things that U.S. Soccer doesn't necessarily unilaterally control. We have Danielle Slayton chairing the board committee, former player, so she's doing a great job there. And then we brought on Mana Shem, one of the victims, as you all know, in the Yates investigation and Meg Linehan's report, to lead the task force. So I think we're moving in the right direction. We still have a lot of work to do, but I think it's important that not just the NWSL, the NWSLPA, and U.S. Soccer, but the entire ecosystem is working together to address these issues, because this isn't just an NWSL problem. It's not just a youth soccer problem. This is broader and affects all sports in this country.
Yeah.
And globally, I would say.
Yeah, exactly. And sadly, it is very broad, the scope of it. Midge, when you first read this, I know the players have talked a lot about this, and I hate to take you back to it, but first reactions and also the feeling amongst the players. Are they hopeful? Are they still angry? Where are they?
Well, first reactions, there's kind of levels to it, I think. When we all read Meg Linehan's report, I remember exactly where I was. We were on the bus on our way to an away trip, and it was dead silent. Everyone had their phone out, just reading the entire article, and it was deflating, it was repulsive, and I think, moreover, my feelings personally is I felt like I had let down my teammates as well. I felt like there were rumors going around, and we didn't do enough for each other to protect each other from these kind of circumstances. And I know that there's a lot of emphasis on the league and U.S. Soccer, but as women, we have a lot of power, and I think that we could have done more for each other to put our foot down and make things stop. So it was hurtful to read. And again, when the Sally Yates report came out, 172 pages? That's a lot of trauma to digest and internalize, and things that I had no idea about, like rumors that didn't even touch some of the things that were in that report. So I think the adjective you used, disturbing, is very accurate. Where players are now, I think there's a lot of hope in the sense that the coaches have been removed. The Sally Yates investigation has come out. There's a comprehensive list of recommendations on how to deal with the situation. And while the list is comprehensive, it's not complex. It's not rocket science. You don't have to do something that's super novel and super innovative to protect players. The blueprint is there and it can be done. So there's hope, but there's also skepticism because there has been years of this going on. And these are issues that, as you said, reach so far beyond women's soccer. It's a cultural issue in the United States. It's a cultural issue globally. It's the way women are valued in society and what gender roles suggest about how you can interact with them in workspaces. It's so much bigger than soccer. So we just have a lot of work to do.
When you talk about that scope, and Cindy, I know you are at the tip of it, right? In terms of action and change. And to Midge's point, like the players saying, okay, let's actually show some action behind this. And I know it's not just U.S. soccer, but you guys obviously oversee it all. How do you even address, because one of the things that came out in this report, as Sally Yates pointed out, is that abuse is normalized at the youth soccer level. And she said the scope is beyond our purview in terms of us digging into that, but how do you even start to address that? And again, I know it's not just women's soccer, but the fact that it's in that report, and she said we talked to player after player who said, well, this is just normal.
Yeah, I don't think there's a silver bullet to solve it. I think it's going to take all of us. I think, we've all been a part of teams, and it's hard to build a culture. It's even harder to change a culture, and that's what we're up against right now. Is we need to all work together, and I'm hopeful that the Yates report, and then we're going to have the NWSL PA joint investigation coming out as well here in the next few months. But I'm hopeful that this has a galvanizing effect, and that everyone sees that we need to make meaningful change. And I'm prepared to help lead in this area, but we are also going to need everyone to jump on board. And we're going to have to change the way that we coach kids. I'm in a youth club in North Carolina. I'm a director and oversee teams. And I tell the coaches that I oversee, basically, the field is your classroom. And as a teacher, if you wouldn't say it to a kid in a classroom in your math class, then you shouldn't say it on the soccer field. And the only reason to yell is because they're really far away. Because on the soccer field is big, so sometimes you do have to yell so people can hear you. But just changing that culture and really seeing the coach as a teacher versus a dictator and the person who can do whatever they want, say whatever they want. I just feel like we need to work, and I think the NWSL PA has done a lot of great work in this area, but shifting the power balance back to the players and giving them more power, making them feel more valued as individuals and as groups, I think is really important step to take. And then from U.S. soccer standpoint, just education of players, parents, coaches, clubs, administrators. What is normal activity? What is normal for a coach? And where is that line? Where does it go from constructive criticism to abuse? Mm-hmm. And I think we need to do a lot of education on that front.
Yeah. Well, and the good news is that now you see in the NWSL, it always felt like, which I think was part of the reason this was swept under the rug for so long and kept secret for so long, of course, as we've talked about in this report, is that it was always like, we just got to survive. We've had 3 iterations of a women's pro league. And I know, again, it's not just women's soccer players who are living like that, but we can't say anything because it would hurt the league or it would fold the league or the league will fail again. And so this culture of silence is built within the system. And it feels like the good news, and I know we're going to hit on this a lot in these next 2 days, is that we are on this upward trajectory of investment and numbers and attendance and sponsorship, and it feels like a real turn. It feels like a real turn with owners in the NWSL. And on that note, it feels like a real turn with equal pay, because I do think investment matters, of course. So let's shift to equal pay.
But can I jump in right there? But I think
Yeah.
that transition is really important, because I think we had a lot of the issues that we've had because of underinvestment.
Exactly.
Right? You would never start a company without the basics on the business side of the company.
Yep.
Right? And so I think everyone was so focused on putting teams together and having teams on the field and creating this league that the basic structure of an organization, of a company, wasn't put into place. And we see what can happen when it is underinvested in. So
no policies, no procedures, no staffing,
no
you
HR.
You wouldn't even know where to report an issue, right? Like all these things. So I agree 100% with that. And that is, I'm hoping the next page and chapter for NWSL and for women's sports going forward. On the equal pay front.
Well, Julie,
yes,
that was a beautiful transition.
Thank you.
I'm
Midge.
so sorry to disrupt it. Because I'm going to take
you. You always disrupt,
I'm going to take you back. Because on the youth level, I think there's one party that we never talk about. We talk about the coaches, we talk about the players, we talk about the staff and the club. And I just think we have to talk about parents and the power of parents at the youth level. And I don't think every parent is doing enough. I think that there's a lot of ambition when it comes to women's soccer. It's one of the most popular sports for a kid to go pro in and be successful in. You know, the women's national team is the most exciting, iconic team in the United States, globally, for women. And I don't think parents are doing enough to protect their children. I had a coach one time when I was very young who said, I don't talk to parents. That happens a lot. It's very normal. But they were like, only emailing the children. My dad said, no, my kid's 10. You're not emailing my kid. We're like, no. And I think it's that simple. Parents can draw a line and step in and protect their children a lot more. But equal pay.
No.
Going back of a transition there,
not as smooth, but we can transition.
Great transition, Midge. I'm taking you back. I'm a parent. And it's the thing that when you read the report and you hear about these cases in gymnastics, I mean, whatever sport you want to go to, swimming, it's like, where was the adult or the parent in the room? And why don't we stand up and speak up? And the answer that keeps coming back is they were afraid their kid would get cut. They were afraid there would be repercussions to that. And so we normalize it by not speaking up and saying, you know what? You're going to have bad bosses. You're going to have bad teachers, right? I've had that conversation with my kid already. And now you're like, wait. No, we need to say something. This isn't right. So I agree 100%. And I think we're so caught up, and my kid's got to get this Division I scholarship, and this is a winning team. So what he's doing isn't that bad, or what she's doing isn't that bad. And lost in all of that is...
And they've been successful in the past. Like,
exactly.
See the path, yeah.
Equal pay. How did you even get there? Because, okay, there are a lot of federations who want to say, you're going to hate me for saying this, but sorry. There are a lot of federations who would say, we gave equal pay to our women. And I call bullshit on all of that. That's 4 times, sorry. Four shits, 5, that's 5. Rachel goes, come on. Because what they do, because you all know, right? The FIFA prize money that they pay out is very different. This has been the elephant in the room. It's very different for the men's side of the game than it is for the women. So if the men win the World Cup, let's just put it in really simple terms. They win a lot of money. If the women win a World Cup, it's kind of a sucky pot, right? So what these federations are doing are saying, well, we're paying equal percentages. Well, 15% of a large pot is very different than 15% of a sucky pot. So that is not equal. So what Cindy did is said, okay, let's come in and equalize it all. We're not signing a contract, men and women, until we equalize the elephant in the room, which is the FIFA money. And that is very different, as we know. How did you get there? Because no one has been able to get there. No other federation has done this. Cindy is the first to do it.
Well, it only took me, 22 years?
Yeah. we haven't been spending a lot of time on it.
So, and I learned a lot from you, Jules. And, you know, as a player, obviously, we've been in the equal pay fight for over 2 decades. And then now that I'm on the so-called other side of the table with the Federation, it was
She went to the dark side.
You know, I spent so many years complaining about things at U.S. Soccer, and and finally I told myself, like, well, if you're not willing to be a part of the solution, then you can't keep complaining. And so that's how I ended up where I am. And with the equal pay, you know, it took me a little over 2 years becoming president to actually get it done. So it wasn't like a quick process, but it was really important to me. And you know, the FIFA World Cup prize money was the elephant in the room, so to speak. And I have to give a lot of credit to everyone. I kind of put the line in the sand that I put out publicly and to both of the teams that there would not be new CBAs without the equalization of World Cup prize money. And I give credit to the women's national team, their PA, the men's national team and their PA, and U.S. Soccer all coming together and figuring it out. And for those of you in the room, or outside, I guess we're not in a room, that have ever been a part of CBA negotiations, they are not smooth. It is not in a straight line. You feel like everything's coming together, and the next minute you feel like everything's falling apart, and there's no way you're going to get to an agreement. And so it's kind of this roller coaster ride for 2 years. And then slowly but surely, pieces started to come together. And you know, I think it was helpful for me being a former player. We'd be sitting at the table and the PAs would be saying something and the U.S. Soccer side would say something else. And I was like, wait, I agree with that side of the table. We should be doing that. So I think it was helpful that I had the perspective. I knew where the players were coming from. And I think I have built the trust. Not that I'm always going to tell the players what they want to hear, but I'm always going to tell them the truth. And I think just approaching it with that level of integrity and honesty, and just genuinely wanting to achieve this and make it happen, I think was really helpful. But there were so many people involved to get this done. I mean, this is like a historic, massive deal that there's a reason why no one else has ever done it. It wasn't easy.
Yeah.
Just on the U.S. Soccer side, I wrote down the list of everyone who in some way, shape, or form helped push this across the line. And there were 62 people from U.S. Soccer that had been a part of it. So that just kind of talks to the complexity as well as how dynamic it was. And you're watching the video, which was a super fun day of actually signing the new CBAs.
Midge, how did you get them all swimming in the same direction? Because that's not easy. And I know you were at every meeting.
I was. Unfortunately, it was.
And that is no easy slog. You deserve like another gold medal for that.
Thank you. It was a process, but I think, you know, the other women who were in the room with me on the team, I think it's honestly very rare to have such intelligent teammates. And I had.
What are you saying about Jules and me?
I never played with you guys.
What are you saying about your Harvard teammates?
We're very smart.
Listen, Harvard has a lot of stereotypes. They're not all true. But yeah, we had like Kristen Press, Becky Sauerbrunn, Pino, Crystal Dunn. Really, really smart players, like smart women who just also happen to be fantastic at communicating, which is another skill that's really hard to find, I think, when you walk into a room with people you're trying to get things done with. And we communicated really well. We disagreed all the time, but we had really in-depth conversations about why we're disagreeing. Okay, what's the best way to remedy this? And I really think the communication was the key part.
Which in those moments, like the importance of sitting around a table face to face, right? And I remember early on in the process, prior to Cindy, there wasn't a lot of face to face. There was COVID, of course, so that made it difficult. But like that is so important, just to hear and to be able to vent, and more importantly, to get it out as a player and be like, you need to hear this face to face.
Absolutely. I mean, it got heated. It got heated a lot. I mean, I remember, So I think a lot of people, they look at collective bargaining and they see equal pay and they're like, oh my gosh, equal pay. This was like the one thing that we're negotiating. But it's kind of like a Christmas tree where equal pay is the star at the top, or the angel, whatever you do in your household. It's the star. It's like the big moment. It's the finishing piece. It's what we're all most excited about. But a good Christmas tree has ornaments and lights. And our collective bargaining agreement had all of those things. It had playing conditions. It had childcare. It had mental health resources, staffing resources. It had so many other parts that were really, really important to equalizing the men and the women that we had minor wins all the time. We had these small wins that were really, really motivating and felt like we were doing meaningful work. And that I think ultimately helped us push in this long process.
And now y'all have a pile of gifts underneath that tree.
But on this topic, like, I want to add something because it's a little less known factor in the CBA that I thought was really important and really impactful. Jules and I, as players, like, it always felt to me like it was the players versus the federation. We called them the feds, and sometimes there was a word between the and feds.
I don't recall that. I never swear.
But we have a revenue share agreement. So now it was really important to me to make sure we have a saying, one nation, one team, to actually make us one team on all the different levels. So obviously everyone's cheering for them to win on the field, but now with the revenue share, if the federation is successful bringing on sponsorships, media, what have you, the players are sharing in that. And then as the players are successful in the field, that helps obviously the federation bring on more partners and sponsors and such. And so actually being in the same boat together and rowing in the same direction. And I think the revenue share portion of the CBA is a little less talked about, but I think really important aspect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's transparency to that, which was always, I think, an issue in the past.
If nothing else, I think I'll be known for transparency.
Yeah. To that point, Cindy, the emotion when it's finally done, and Midge as well, the emotion of like, and there hasn't been overt tension between the men's and women's teams, but like any group, when you're, thinking like, well, why are they getting that and we're not getting that? I mean, it was always that, like, wait, what? They're staying at the Ritz and we're at the Holiday frickin' Inn? You get angry back in the day. And so now
It hasn't been like that for a really long time.
I know. We aren't staying at the Holiday Inn anymore. They stay at a really nice hotel.
They're nice.
Yeah. But you're now rowing in the same direction. If the men do well, then the women do well. If the women do well, the men benefit from that as well. So how does that change that dynamic, and what is that emotion once it's finally done? That's for both of you.
You can start.
Okay, 2 questions. The emotion when it was finally done. My answer is more controversial, but it's honest, so I'll be honest.
That's what we do at the summit.
That's what we do. It's women. I was really, really proud the moment that it finished, because this was a fight that was happening long before I even touched a soccer ball. And to have the honor of being part of the group that actually pushed it over the line, like, that was so humbling for me. I can't, it's inexplicable. Like, that's one of the definitely the coolest thing I've ever done, probably one of the coolest things that I will ever do. And I was just proud of all of the women and men who came together to make this happen for generations. Like, it's so huge. But at the same time, I was extremely irritated. I was so frustrated because, again, this is a fight that has been going on since before I touched a soccer ball. And now, in my 20s, I'm a part of the solution. That's ridiculous. And I felt that a lot of people wanted me to jump up and down for joy, like, oh my gosh, we got equal pay. Yes, we did, but that's what they deserved. Some of the best athletes to represent this country weren't paid properly. That's a negative. It's not a neutral. And so now we're reaching neutral. You didn't do anything that is a plus. It's not a positive. You're doing what you're supposed to do. And I think women are often asked to be overjoyed when they're given what they're supposed to be given. So, yeah.
Preach. Love it.
So I said my thank yous. I said, "Good job, everyone. Congratulations." But I wasn't like, "Oh my gosh, you've really done this. It's amazing." But I'm proud of everyone who really stuck in there to get it done, for sure.
That's so good and so interesting and so on point because we do. We're like, oh my God, this is amazing. Actually, we should have had this 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Cindy?
You know, looking back over the entire process, I mean, Jules, we've been engaged in this since Midge was born, before she was born. So, and just fighting to not just for equal pay, but to feel valued, to feel worthy of investment, and to be able to be a part of the process and to be able to push this across the line. I mean, it's been 22 years in the making since I came on, and you guys were fighting for it even before I came on the national team. You know, I would like to say that I jumped up and down and did some somersaults, but what I felt was relief. And I think it kind of goes back to our playing days is like as elite athletes, you are pushing for the next goal all the time. And then you achieve what you set out to achieve. And then, okay, what's the next goal? What's the next event? I distinctly remember after 99, after we won the World Cup in 99, I was like, okay, well, the Olympics are right around the corner, 2000 Olympics, we need to start training, and immediately started thinking about the next. And I feel like with equal pay, like I just felt relieved that finally after 22 freaking long years, 2.5 years as president of US Soccer, every day fighting for this, so many sleepless nights, that it finally happened. And I know we can be irritated that it took too long. And I get where Midge is coming from, but we finally got there, and we're still the only ones to have done it. And my hope is that that changes soon. And to see the ripple effect that what Midge and her group and the men's team and their PA and US Soccer have done together, to have that not only have affect other federations in soccer, but more broadly, women's sports and men's sports coming together to fight for each other and to be advocates for each other.
Yeah, and even beyond sports, of course. I mean, that is going to be the ripple effect, I think, is there's so many different silos that will be touched. One of those, too, is you get the benefit of getting invited to the White House for Equal Pay Day. I don't know if you guys have heard this story. Midge, do you want to tell it?
I think it's better from our perspective, Jules.
Yeah. So it's a fantastic story.
Well, this picture is not from the time we went together.
No.
Just so you know.
That was Midge's other trip to the White House on Equal Pay Day.
This was a better day.
She goes every year. So Midge shows up in this gorgeous dress, and I was like, hot damn, sister. Beautiful black dress. And they, of course, want us on the front lawn juggling the soccer ball.
Sorry, Julie. It was Oscar de la Renta, this dress.
Sorry.
Okay?
More details, please. Let's be more specific.
Well, if you're going to tell it. It was Oscar de la Renta from his spring line. This dress was stunning.
And we say to Midge, whatever you do while you're juggling the soccer ball, do not reach for a ball. Okay? What does Midge do? The very first ball that was put to her. She tries to do a bicycle kick on the front lawn.
Slight hyperbole.
Yeah. And the whole dress. So meanwhile, we're like, oh, I'm not going to swear. Oh my God. And we are we're like, get safety pins. And we're trying to gather. And the Secret Service are like, the president's balcony is right there. Please do not disrobe right here. So what'd you do?
So
we kept juggling.
They kept juggling. I think I lost the nail because Cindy Cindy popped the
She was
ball
a hot
to.
mess, Midge.
Yeah, it
We
wasn't
kept
great.
juggling. I had a little bit of a mistouch. I mean, it's been years since I played.
Yeah.
And I popped off one of Midge's nails. So it's like, it's Brian Ascuri, Jules, and me, basically the 99ers bullying Midge on accident.
That's a good word. That's an accurate word.
We didn't do it on purpose.
So, Secret Service again. They're like, "Can you turn around? The balcony's right there. We don't want the president to see the back of your dress torn because it was all the way. It was all. It was a maxi dress. It was very tight and it was all the way up.
Oh, it's fantastic.
But luckily, they have a White House seamstress.
Of course they do.
They have a White House seamstress, and I sat in a little closet while she sewed my dress, and then I was good to go.
Please tell me we have that picture.
No,
Do we not have it? You didn't send it?
I forgot to send it.
Midge fail!
Yeah,
I was like, send Christina that picture.
I couldn't. I FaceTimed my dad, and I'm covered in like a sheet at the White House, and he was disgusted. He said, "Where are your clothes? Aren't you at the White House? This is so embarrassing." And I said, my dress ripped. They're sewing it back up. And he was like, "Don't ever do that again." And I was like, "I don't think I'll be back, Dad."
We're never going to invite her
Ever
back.
again.
Ever.
But she still hangs out with us. So
Oh, I know. Oh, that was good. That was really good. All right. What would you two, we only have 3.5 minutes left. What would be a lesson, Midge, when you're talking to other players, other athletes, other employees? It doesn't have to be sports, but like, what did you learn in this whole journey that you would share with them to say, you too can get here? Here's how.
I think for me personally, one of the most distracting parts of this process was that I would argue with people about why it was justifiable for the women to have equal pay. And I would get into very intense debates with random men about about why they are wrong, and I would lay down facts and data because after doing a collective bargaining agreement, you become very well versed in pay disparity. And at the end of it, the responses would still be, "Well, I just still don't think that you guys deserve the same," like blah blah blah. Something that is not very reason-based or fact-based, and it would make me really really upset. And it functioned kind of as a deterrent with like the energy I was putting into collective bargaining and towards the actual goal, which was not to convince people that we deserve equal pay, but to achieve equal pay. And I think there's a huge difference between the two. I think we spend a lot of time trying to make everyone be on our team and agree with us and understand, facts and data and what's true or right, when the reality of the situation is you don't have to agree with the money that's going into my pocket as long as the money's in my pocket. And I think to keep that goal in mind and stay focused in that sense is really, really important. And you can't let other people derail you from that goal.
Yeah, that's like a microcosm of our life right now, I feel like. Right?
Yes.
Politics with this world.